A number of high-profile celebrities have spoken out about the closure of Millstreet Town Park until next month to facilitate coursing in the park. Now, this happens every year, but it seems from locals this year that we're hearing from, they've just simply have had enough. Now, we've spoken to a number of locals off-air who don't want to join us on air. Those locals are against what is happening, and many say that this is a small community in Millstreet and we do not wish to join you on air to discuss it, but we are outlaying our worries and concerns to you off air, and many have, and you would have heard those earlier and indeed over the last few weeks on the programme. Now, in the last few minutes, we have received a statement from Millstreet Coursing Club via WhatsApp, so I will bring that in its entirety to you after 11, but I have highlighted parts of it there just to provide balance on this discussion, because, as I mentioned, celebrities, the well-known animal rights campaigner and actress Pauline McLynn, who joins me on this because she, as you know, is big into animal rights and is involved with the hen rescue campaign that we have spoken about with her on the show over the years. She joins me this morning. Good morning to you, Pauline.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, and thanks for joining us. I mean, this is a very emotive topic, and you'll be well aware of these type of topics over the years in local towns, and you can understand some locals don't want to come on air themselves and discuss what is happening.
That's right. So it's sad as well as astonishing, because, of course, the reason people don't want to put their heads above the parapet on this particularly is, just as you've highlighted, because it's such a local thing. I mean, it's a nationwide concern, certainly, but it's you leave yourself open to such intimidation. And I will say that the coursers, the pro coursers, are a very robust lot who are very well able to just involve bullying tactics, and people just don't want to be targeted, I guess.
Okay, no, I don't know if the Millstreet gang are like that, just to give them credit. I don't know if they're bullies or not, but I hope they're not.
Sure, and I hope they're not, but I mean, obviously I am directly opposed to everything that they stand for. And what I find really, really astonishing with all of this is that, as you say, this happens every year, that the town park is closed to facilitate what I think is animal cruelty and abuse. But it's for a minority, a tiny minority, and yet all of the townspeople are effectively shut out of their municipal park, which is rather beautiful and in one of the most beautiful areas of the country, and they can't enjoy it because the whole thing is blocked off. It's very hard to see in, even to see the coursing. Not that anyone should ever have to watch that, in my opinion. But it's the majority are now being held to ransom practically by these coursers, and I just think it's astonishing and barbaric. It's like something from the Dark Ages.
And you would have been involved in many of these type of campaigns over the years, and you're obviously well open and have spoken out about why you feel items and sports like this should be banned in this country. Yeah. Have you seen something like this before elsewhere in Ireland, whereby a park does close for a month or 3 months or 6 months?
Not a municipal park like this. I mean, obviously there are, parks that are presumably like Hare in the Hall, that are used for coursing in Limerick and beyond. Quite a, it's not endemic around the country. In terms of, I think that bit by bit, this is all dying out. I'm glad to say, and I mean, obviously there'll be a lot more activity on the banning of hare coursing next year. It is to be hoped, because with each survey that's done in the country, more and more people are saying no, they don't want this because they think it's cruel and barbaric. And, sometimes you get the pro coursers trying to make a big divide between the people who live in towns and the country people, if you like. That doesn't exist anymore. We're all citizens who are concerned that this type of activity, it leaves a stain on the country, not just on Millstreet in particular, because of using the town park. And hares, they're a protected species. They're deeply solitary creatures, and keeping so many of them together, number one, is stress enough, and then to pile them into one another makes a perfect breeding ground for a very deadly virus that they've got. It's like it's parallel to us fighting COVID, so the hares would normally be a socially distanced kind of animal, unless they're breeding. And now to put them together is encouraging this really, truly deadly virus for they to breed itself under these conditions. So that is also another horror. And then, of course, the use of greyhounds, which are, one of the most exploited animals in Ireland anyway. So, on all levels, this just doesn't stack up as being anything that should be encouraged, in my opinion. And, for the townspeople, I think it's quite sad that somebody who does not live in Millstreet has to come on and talk about this, because the townspeople feel that they can't do it themselves or would prefer not to, leave themselves open to being targeted. So I think, it's time to just call a halt on this and just say no. This is unfair to most of the people living in that town, and they should be allowed to enjoy their town park and not to have it associated with this horrible so-called sport.
Okay, well, we did get a statement from the coursing club in Millstreet just in the last few minutes. I'll bring it to people in full after 11, but just to offer a bit of balance, I suppose, on this for them. The rules and regulations that they say of the town park, it's provided for the use of the town park by the coursing club, and the coursing club was responsible for providing funding to purchase that town park in 1956. Historically, the park would have been closed for 3 months. Now that's reduced to 1 month, and they go on to say that the town park is now, while it is fully closed while it's in use by the coursing club, the playground, the walkway outside the pitch and push are still fully open and in use. So not the entirety is closed, and it goes on, but more or less they're saying that the town park, a lot of that wouldn't be there because they provided funding for that. So maybe because of the funding they're entitled to use it and close it off.
I think it's very revealing that it used to be closed for 3 months and now it's a month. So you can see bit by bit it's been whittled down, and hopefully it will be stamped out quite soon. And also, I just don't fancy, if I had kids, to bring them to a playground right beside where they'll be able to hear live hares screaming as they run, away from 40-kilo greyhounds who, though muzzled, and therefore it is said won't bite the hare. If you had a 40-kilo greyhound run at you and say hit you in the thigh with their muzzle, you know all about it. You'd probably have a broken leg. So it's just, I can't see how people can call this sport. And I do hope that people can come out and protest about it. The townspeople, there is a protest on December the 31st between 9 and 11 in the morning. And hopefully people will feel that they can come out and show themselves and protest against this, because it's got to stop. I mean, jeepers. 2022 we're headed into now, and there's no place for this.
And as that protest will take place on New Year's Eve, are you confident that next year we will see coursing banned right across the country? It's been spoken about for a while.
Yeah, there's going to be a bill. It was introduced in our time of lockdown, or it was introduced that it would be brought forward in the Dáil, and I'm hoping that that'll be next year, 2022, in the earlier part, hopefully, and we're hoping that there'll be a free vote on it as well in the Dáil, so that politicians can vote with their heart and not to have the party whip invoked. Because sometimes people who are deeply against it are told by the party what way to vote, and that's, I think a bit of a disgrace, because we'll never know democratically in the Dáil, as long as that continues, what the real feeling is about banning this, although my feeling is that people don't want it anymore.
Okay, well, we'll wait and see what happens. Pauline, thanks for joining us this morning. Best of luck with your work with the Hen Rescue as well, and Merry Christmas to you all.
And a Merry Christmas to you.
Take care. Lovely speaking to you. Pauline McLynn, take care. Pauline McLynn there, who is well known for her many roles in TV and also a well-known animal rights activist and campaigner over the years. We've spoken to her on the Hen Rescue, and that is the situation regarding Millstreet there and where she stands on coursing and protests that have happened over the last podcast. While I have that statement, I outlined some of it there with Pauline. I'll bring you the statement in full. Cork today, JP, until 1. Bernie taking your comments on 1850 333 103, or you can text or WhatsApp 0862 103 103. You can always tweet us this morning at C103 Cork.